Next, we have the presentation of what the board has come up with for recommendation. I'm not going to read the entire document, but I am going to read the recommendations specific to our committee. This is the advisory committee findings and recommendation. Pursuant to the advisory committee's review of district goals and property information, and pursuant to the Education Code sections 17388 and 17390, the advisory committee makes the following recommendations to the board, which can be undertaken simultaneously to ensure the best value for the property is achieved. Number one, the advisory committee recommends that the property not be used or developed for future residential or commercial purposes. Number two, the advisory committee recommends that the board pursue both short-term and long-term leasing options with the aim to maximize the property's value while prioritizing uses that serve the best interest of the district, student, and the broader community. The advisory committee recommends, number three, the advisory committee recommends that the board consider partnering with local public agencies and/or nonprofit organizations to develop, operate, and maintain programs or services on the property that support children and the community. Examples may include educational initiatives such as early childhood education centers, after-school academic support programs, and youth wellness centers. Number four, the advisory committee recommends that the board consider the development of public-facing community facilities that provide cultural, civic, and recreational benefits to children and the community. These may include a library, community arts space, or a multi-purpose community center that complement existing local resources. Number five, the advisory committee recommends that the board explore the development of community green space or recreational fields that offer opportunities for park expansion, open space, athletic programming, and other community activities. Potential partners may include youth sports organizations, public agencies, or recreation-focused nonprofits. Number six, the advisory committee recommends that the board preserve and maintain the architectural integrity and landscaping of the site, including its mid-century modern character and natural features, including heritage oak trees to the greatest extent feasible. And number seven, the advisory committee recommends that the board act expeditiously to prevent the property from sitting vacant, which may lead to blight, security concerns, and deferred maintenance. The board should prioritize near-term planning efforts that activate the site in alignment with the above recommendations. I would just like to add a comment that these recommendations were based upon the public meeting we had where we took a survey of three main questions with a couple of sub-questions. And I think our recommendations totally follow what was given to us at that meeting and subsequent comments that we've had since then. One area that I'd like to point out was that there was question number 2, and the question was, should ongoing revenue generation be a priority? The answers came back that the majority of the answers were no. Now, the board has decided that that the school should benefit from their leasing program. So we're kind of in conflict with the answers to that question. We recommend that they lease the program, which then protects it from being used for any type of development. And that was the main comment from the public, that this not be used for residential or commercial property. And so that's why we differ from the answers on revenue generation. So anybody on the board have any comments?
Just thank you, Bob. Thank you for adding those extra comments at the end. I think it was our way, right, to be fully transparent with the community and with ourselves. So thank you.
And just to clarify, the pie chart graphs will be, I know you said it was too expensive to print them for this meeting, but the pie chart graphs will be included as part of this document, is that correct?
I don't recall either of us saying that, but yes.
Okay, because I think that supports what Mr. Shea just said about the committee taking in the community, and sorry if I'm yelling, sort of.
Could you use the microphone?
Yeah, we can't hear
I'll
you.
I'll project. I'm mom of the actors. I think by having the chart with the community input results, I think that supports what Mr. Shea just said, that the committee here has tried really hard to take into account both the district's needs, but also what the community, meaning the residents, would like to see for that corner and what they would like it to be protected from. So I'd like to see that be part of the actual final document to the board.
Okay, moving on. The next section is the open public hearing. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, so that opens this public hearing. And now we have public comments on the public hearing. State law prevents the committee from acting on any matter not listed on the agenda or from discussing any such matters in any detail. Persons wishing to make comments to the committee on the agenda and non-agenda items may do so at this time. Speakers must submit their advance request to address the committee prior to the start of the meeting, should limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, 20 minutes per topic, and should only expect the committee to take their comments under advisement for possible future discussion and or action. So we have a couple of people here and a few more. And we'll start off with Trish Parker.
No, I think it's on, correct? Yep.
It's on. I hate speaking in public, so my voice might crack. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to thank the Asset Management Advisory Committee for all the time and effort they have put in over the past 10 months to draft the thoughtful recommendations for the future of the property that housed Santa Clarita Elementary for over 50 years. I am sure the report they will be presenting to the Board of Trustees is a true reflection of what the community would like to see. I attended the first meeting held at Santa Clarita Elementary back in September. I don't think anyone anticipated the turnout at that meeting or the clear message that was stated at that meeting and again at the community meeting in October. See, the land is more than just a piece of property. The little school on the corner is the cornerstone of a community that was built within the walls of the brick buildings and the portable buildings that are no longer there. My 4 children attended Santa Clarita Elementary from 2005 to 2017. We live right around the corner from Mountain View Elementary, but at the time we moved into our home school was Santa Clarita Elementary. At one point, we had the opportunity to move to Mountain View Elementary, where my 2 youngest kids would have been able to walk to school. My husband and I never entertained the idea. As they say, once a bulldog, always a bulldog. How could we possibly leave this community we were placed into? The corner where I met people that would become my best friends while we waited for our kids to be released. The corner where I crossed the street to be met with hugs from my kids every day at dismissal. The beautiful brick buildings where we volunteered in classrooms, at book fairs, assemblies, year-end carnivals, and so on. I could go on for hours about the magic that took place on that corner on a daily basis. Those of us that were blessed to have been part of it know it. Teachers, parents, and students, we all understand the value of that land. It is beyond monetary. It truly is invaluable. I hope the Board of Trustees will take the recommendations of the committee into fair consideration. Lastly, I want to extend a special thank you to Kathy Lund, the former librarian at Santa Clarita Elementary and member of the 7-Eleven committee. She is the epitome of what everything Santa Clarita Elementary was about. She was the glue that held the school together. We all knew it then, and I believe she has shown it now as she has worked on this committee. So Kathy, from my family and so many others, thank you for doing everything you have done for us, the school, for working to make sure the history of Santa Clarita Elementary will be honored, and that it will hopefully remain a pillar of the community that it was built around the little school on the corner.
Frank Smathers.
My thought is SOS. Save our Santa Clarita Elementary School buildings for future generations. The 7-Eleven committee has been generating a report that includes preservation of the mid-century modern architecture and a partnership with local agencies and nonprofit organizations to keep it that way. Many residents feel strongly that the unique mid-century modern buildings should be preserved for future generations. Aerial pictures reveal that the buildings form a distinctive ring-shaped structure resembling a high-tech flying saucer. The school was designed by the legendary architectural firm of Smith, Powell, and Morgridge, who created many prominent Los Angeles buildings, such as Page House at the California Institute of Technology, the Fullerton City Hall, and Santa Monica City College. Their achievements are curated at the Architecture and Design Collection of the Art Museum at University of California, Santa Barbara. Seismic reports indicate that the cost of retrofitting the campus is expensive. That is true. However, it would also seem logical that demolishing the current structure and replacing it with entirely new buildings of similar quality would be even more expensive. Santa Clarita Elementary School is a uniquely designed landmark. What we ask is that the Saugus Union School District open its doors to historic preservationists to work together in repurposing the property as the search goes on for organizations with plans that will save the buildings. One such organization, the LA Conservancy, has already expressed interest in helping save our school, And Andrew from that organization is here tonight, and I hope we'll get a chance to speak. 100 years from now, future generations will thank us for protecting these historical buildings as monuments to American ingenuity. Thanks.
Patrick LeClaire.
All right, good evening, Chair Shea and members of the committee. I'm Patrick LeClaire. I'm the planning manager at the city of Santa Clarita. Thus far, the city has been observing the discussions of the Asset Management Advisory Committee as it relates to the Santa Clarita Elementary School property and appreciates the committee's commitment and collaboration in developing a draft report and the recommendations included. In reviewing the draft recommendations of the committee, I'd like to clarify that it is typically a policy of the city not a policy of the city to enter into a short or long-term lease for its facilities. Rather, the city typically owns facilities and operates its programs. As stated in a previous letter with the Saugus Union School District, the city is interested in the recommendations of the committee regarding the former school. As you know, the city is committed to providing high-quality programs and services to all members of the community and continuously looks for ways to improve facilities and program offerings to meet the recreational needs of its residents. To that end, the city has expanded offerings in recent years through the addition of new facilities such as the Q, Ice and Entertainment Center, the Canyon Country Community Center, and most recently, the Valencia Community Center. That being said, the city looks forward to working on this matter with the district in the future. Thank you for your time.
Lynn.
Good evening. I don't think you guys, I don't need to use a microphone. I basically got it. Okay, number one, thank you very much to this group for continuing to do your work even after that meeting from hell back in September. That was quite a fiasco, now wasn't it? I basically have a question, and it's with the assumption that we can have a rock solid use for this property going forward. Not development, not apartments, not commercial, you know, what we're looking for. But the question I have, and you know, if you can give me thumbs up, thumbs down, you know, stomp your foot once for yes, twice for no, whatever. The people that said, no, we don't want a lease, did they opt more for a sale? And you know, just outright done with it, and we lose all the control. So that's basically it. I'm a man of few words, as so many of you know. So, thank you.
Andrew Sullivan.
Oh, and thank you to Nick for spending time with us.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, yeah, pretty good. I'm Andrew Sullivan. I'm representing the LA Conservancy. Frank invited us here tonight to speak, but we've actually been getting a lot of emails about this, so it's an indication that people care about the place when they're emailing the LA Conservancy about it, and multiple people all reaching out, sharing next door, you know, what's going on next door, sending pictures, sharing their stories, and that's really just an indication that the place is special. I was actually just on my way here, I was able to see it for the first time because I've been reviewing all of your documents and the photos, and it's really a beautiful little school, state of the art for the time, and it has wonderful potential. How you get there is going to be the hard part, and it's not going to be an easy process, we understand, but we've gone through this with other cities. So we're really here to offer any technical assistance we can to the district, to the committee, to the city, and hopefully, you know, we can see this reused. We did submit a letter. We agree with all of the recommendations, and I think I want to commend the committee for listening to the public. I think too many times the public asks for something and the city or the school district does something completely else. So I'm glad at this early stage it's heading in the right direction, and let's just keep it on track because we could make this a really great place. There's a lot of efficiencies with the park next door, with the intersection being where it is. It's a great place for programming for students and families. So that's it, and I'm just hoping to learn more about it today. Thank you.
Kim Rice Borgeron. How do you pronounce that?
Rice bonding.
Rice Bogdan.
Thank you.
To the 7-Eleven committee. First, I want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication to improving this community. It means the world to all of us. I would like to propose one addition to your suggested solutions. I propose the reopening and retrofitting of the Santa Clarita Elementary School. What the school board has implied is that the school is closing due to cosmic seismic retrofit and low enrollment, costly seismic retrofit and low enrollment. Per section 3 of a previous 7-Eleven committee draft, which the board voted to remove, stated that the board downsized the school intentionally. Not maliciously, but just intentionally. In addition, the cost for the seismic retrofit have not been thoroughly estimated. I've heard it vary from $6 million to $25 million, and I'm not even sure if any of those numbers are accurate. My proposal is not so much nostalgic, although I do have it in my heart, but it represents an economic and financial advantage to Saugus School District, and it will benefit the children. My 3 main reasons to reopen the school is, 1, the community outreach notification to close the school did not follow proper procedure. Outreach is not reaching out to other schools or other districts. That's part of research, not outreach. And when you did notify the community, it was via Parent Square to only the current parents in 2023. Not the public, not the neighbors, not the local businesses. And your Parent Square notification was obtuse and vague. It did not mention the potential closure of the school. It only spoke about addressing the seismic issues. Apparently there was a notification in the signal at one point in time, but as many of us know, newspapers these days aren't really the most sufficient means of communication. In addition to the board not following due process with notifying the community appropriately, they've not factored in multiple additional communities that are currently being built in Saugus. Where will those children go? The measures for those communities, the members for those communities will not be sufficient to build new schools. So their children will roll into existing schools, increasing class size and potentially requiring the school district to put them in lacking temporary bungalows. We are a growing community, and you are closing schools. The school district should look to the future and get ahead of this. As for the cost of the retrofit to the school, I'm hearing estimates of $25 million to fix the school. That's a small sum in comparison to building a brand new school once all the new communities are in place in just a few years. The board needs to consider the future of this community and the children, not how much the school property is worth for the district. I address this directly to the board. You are stewards of this community, our community. Please do the right thing. You may hold your position temporary, but the decision you make once this draft is submitted to you is permanent. It can make or break this community. Please have your legacy be one of innovation, integrity, and positive impact. Thank
you. The last person is Kathy Samuelson.
I'm going to apologize in advance if my phone beeps. It's my daughter's medical alert, so sometimes it's loud and annoying. Anyhow, I'm Kathy Samuelson, and I think some of you guys know me. I wanted to say to the committee, one thing that I would love to see added to recommendation is just parking. If you live in the neighborhood, you know that the parking overflows very badly. People block driveways, people will pull our trash cans out of the street to put them on the sidewalk so that they can park. It's rather annoying. I'm sure Al can attest to this. He driveway over time. So just sufficient parking with whatever is done with it would be lovely. I'd love a traffic study done. Since the elementary school has been closed, parents from Ootosego can no longer utilize that pickup and drop-off space parking lot of Santa Clarita Elementary. And the traffic exiting the neighborhood now is horrendous because everybody is flowing through my neighborhood now. It's become really bad and very annoying. I know that we're talking about like blight and stuff and the school becoming an eyesore. This is more, I think, for the district. As I noticed where the bungalows were removed, there are weeds now that are not yay high. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's definitely very ugly. I have an opinion that this school, the intention was maybe to sell this school, take the money and fix up other schools or build a new school. That's kind of just my opinion there. I'm rather ticked off that hardly any of the major EE funds have been used to retrofit any of the schools. Very, very, very little major EE has gone to retrofitting. I did some calculations, projects that were not needed with measure EE funds. Just a rough estimate for something like $14 million that could have gone to retrofitting Santa Clarita Elementary School. I've noticed that there's kids at public bus stop. Have we done a study to see particularly the apartment complexes and stuff that are on Seco? Are there families there that need busing or help or free bus passes and stuff? Because I do see parents with children sitting at the bus stop now to get their kids to school, which you can imagine on a pouring rain day is not very fun. And to echo things that other people said, there's a lot of my neighbors that their kids that are my kids' age, like 18 to 25, that they live in the neighborhood now and they're having grandbabies. As I drove out of the neighborhood right now, one was sitting on the front lawn with her 2 grandkids. Pretty soon those kids are gonna need schools to go to. And I think even though maybe our enrollment has supposedly dropped right now, I think very soon that we're gonna see that go up because kids my kids' age are having babies and people can't afford to live on their own anymore, so they're living at home with us. So anyhow, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the people that signed up for public comments. So at this point, we're going to close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to close public hearing? We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Now comes the point for the board to have discussion items. Excuse me. Committee. Okay, does anybody have a discussion item?
If I can just ask a quick question. I can just ask a quick question. So the intent tonight is for us to take the public input, to go back over this document, to see where we can clarify or fit in some of the suggestions that were made here tonight possibly, or see if those follow with the results we got from October. And we are gonna have another opportunity to go over the language that's in this already, because I have notes. So, I don't know if this is the time to do that, or we have another meeting scheduled May 7th, which is next week, and if that would be the better time for us to finalize the language. I don't know what the process is. I don't know where we are in the process now that we've had public comments.
Yeah, I think that's what we're here for. Why don't you just go with your comments?
You'll be sad.
Okay. We'll be sad.
Yeah. Okay, my apologies to everybody, but thank you all so much for being here, because when we've been saying people care, you showing up shows that people care, so thank you. And I know that you're across generations with young kids, grandkids, or whatever, people that just live in the neighborhood, so thank you. And I'm actually not really in charge, but thank you. The table of contents for recommendation form. I was looking at some of the numbering system for it, and when it gets down to attachments, I have a question on the attachments. It's page 1, table of contents. The first attachment is the map of the school as it was at the time that the school closed. However, on the top of that map, it does not indicate a date that shows that portable buildings were there in June 2024 when the school actually closed, which then makes Exhibit B, when it has a date as of January 25 showing the school now with the portable buildings missing, it seems like we need a date on the before because we have one on the after. Is that possible? Okay. I also wanted to say that, thank you for Exhibit B. Because we called out the heritage oaks on one of our recommendation points is to try to preserve those on one of these maps, possibly Exhibit B. Would it be possible or smart to indicate on there where the heritage oaks are so that that's part of the map when people are looking at it? Yeah, something. Lisa, who's, for those of you who don't know, who's on the commission, right, for the city, had pointed out that the city has ordinance that heritage oaks aren't to be disturbed, and that's why I'm concerned about this. These were planted by school kids a number of years ago, and I wanted to make, we had told the city at the time when they were put in that we would take care of them forever, and then the school closed. So I just want to make sure we're protecting those. Just a circle, something that indicates that those are the heritage oaks, yeah. And if you're looking at the map for the committee members, the exit driveway that would be along Decorah, where it makes like an elbow bend, the inside of the property, there's 2 trees, those are the 2 heritage oaks. Yeah, so, and then that could be added into the numbering system, that the graphs are Exhibit C. Okay, thank you.
In the document to say what that is. So just like you were saying the date on Exhibit A and Exhibit B, we'll have the date of the community meeting where we generate that also.
Okay, so, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. On page 3, where it has a listing of the, that we have, indicate the meetings that we had for the April 30th meeting tonight, will that indicate that tonight was the public hearing for this, process?
Yes.
Okay.
And also to add to that, on the next page, at the top of the next page, where information about the public hearing is to be completed, that will all be filled in as well. So the number of public speakers, how public notice was given, all of that.
Okay, so that means then on page 4 at the top, then where it says the date that it was in the paper and any other notifications, all those dates will be filled in before we approve it. Okay.
Well, just a point of clarification, so tonight, yes, sorry.
So procedurally, what can happen is with the comments you're providing tonight, and if the committee has more, the committee can approve the report subject to those revisions being made. And then, of course, the updated report will be distributed to the committee. And you'll be able to take a final look before it's, of course, presented to the board. So that is one option. Another option is to have, of course, the next meeting and finalize the report there. So there are 2 options around finalizing and approving the report.
So, wow, this one's loud. So what you're saying is that if we kind of hash out the details tonight, that you could either give us this report and just kind of like email it to us, but we would not meet again as a committee, or we have the option, in case we want to discuss amongst ourselves, the final look at it or whatever, or we have the option of hashing out the details, getting the new language or whatever changes we want to have made tonight, and then coming back at it next week to just make sure that we've dotted our i's and crossed our t's. Is that correct?
Correct, those are the options.
Anybody else can jump in.
We're not going.
Well, thanks. Okay. One of the things, and I think it was brought up by a couple of people, was the manner in which the school was closed and at what date it was closed. And at our last meeting on page 4 of this document, on page 4, there is in this, where it says item C, and then the first sentence starts under AB 300. The final paragraph, or sentence in that paragraph reads, further, the district began halting acceptance of transfer students and new kindergarten or transitional kindergarten enrollments at SCES following the 2022-2023 school year. And later in the same document, it says that that started in fall of 2022. And I wanted it clarified because I left in June of 2022, and I believe that's when they started not accepting more kindergartners. I think it's on my way out, I saw the last group of kindergartners. And so I was wondering if that could be cleared up, and if so, I feel like when we were looking at this last time, we were trying really hard to make sure that the order of events were actually chronological, and so depending on that date, I feel like that sentence needs to go in place, possibly after.
Change it the following, beginning the 2023 school year, because that's when it began.
Correct, but then if we do that, then the next thing underneath it is March 2022, so now you're backtracked. If you leave that sentence in place, following the 2022-2023 school year, then March of 2022 would have been the 2021-2022 school year. Where it says on March 3rd, 2022, that would have been the previous school year to when we started phasing kids out. We hadn't even decided to close the school at that point. Okay. Yeah, just where, to Lisa's point, just put it wherever it goes chronologically. That's the one we keep slipping around. Okay, and then something that's been brought up, and I know that Kim Bogdan kind of mentioned it, but Al had alluded to it at the last meeting, is one of the terms that gets used interchangeably is notifying the community. And I believe Mr. Heinlein at the last meeting, you had suggested that maybe when we're talking about how notifications went out, if it was expressly to the school community, which the AB 300 initial information meetings seem to go out through Parent Square. And I know, even though I was still with the district, I didn't have Parent Square, and had somebody not told me, oh, actually I found out about the day after of what the meeting had been actually about. So down at the bottom of page 4, there is an open session presentation, and we held to receive input from the community. It turns out it was probably the school community, because it was directly the parents, not the neighbors, not any residents, and not, to somebody else's point, the businesses. So if we could clarify when we're talking to groups, who the groups are. One of them was a board meeting one. It came up in this area, but it may need to be put in someplace else. But it's been kind of a common confusion for everybody is that the word community has been used to indicate the community directly at the school, the community within the district, the residents that live in Saugus, and clearly people feel like that wasn't the case. Sometimes they felt excluded.
That speaks more, if I can just jump in, that speaks more to. I forgot that I had her in front. That speaks more to the community having an opportunity, the entire community, to attend the board meeting to provide input, not so much how notice was given. So if you want clarification around the notice procedures, that would be additional language to add.
I think to make this clear, and we've talked about transparent, I know it's a word that gets used a lot at the board meetings about being transparent. I think if we want to make it clear, then I think the distinction needs to be made and have it be in this document. And again, I've said this before, and my apologies to my committee members, fellow committee members, but I want whatever we hand off to the board to be crystal clear to them about how we got here. They have a lot of other issues. For me, this is my one issue. They're dealing with all the issues of the school district, and I'd like it put in front of them of, here, remember, you did all this, this is how we got here, and then, because they will be the ones who will ultimately make the vote on what actually happens, I'd like them to have as much information in front of them as possible, because the harder you make it for people to find the information and back it up, they don't have that kind of time. They're, opening new schools, they're, remodeling things, they have personnel things, new programs coming on, and I'd like to be this kind of, one-stop shop that everything they might need is here.
Kathy, how would you want it worded? Give us the sentence. Or the two.
The last paragraph. That's something, I think I'm gonna have to go back and find it. I was making notes at home before I came here, and I just noticed that, and we've had the same problem, community. So there's multiple places where it talked about the community, the AB 300, that the community was notified, but it doesn't specify who that community was. And again, that goes back to Kim Bogdan's point earlier.
So that specificity can be included.
Okay, thank you.
I know. We voted it. We can't hear you.
So I believe we voted on this issue at the last meeting, but we're happy to bring back more language if that would be the committee's
Well, I just want to make
recommendation.
sure.
This wasn't about, I know the section that we voted to take out, and I looked at it again, and it still hurts my heart that it's not there, but we had a vote in fair and square. I lost, but that was fair and square. That's above board. We all had an opportunity to vote, and as a group, the group decided to take out certain portions of that original draft that you've given us. And this is just a way of clarifying who was the audience, who were you trying to contact when you had these things, so that, because the reason we had the September meeting in Santa Clarita was explosive, was because people didn't understand. There was a lot of misinformation. People passed it along, the sky is falling, and not knowing where to get the actual information, and then feeling that because they misunderstood it, that possibly the district is hiding stuff from them purposely. And so that's why I would like to see that purposely we're making sure that we're not hiding anything.
So I think we'd have to wordsmith that, Mrs. Long, so that we could give that to you.
I just want to make sure that we have an assurance from the administration that they're going to put it in the document. Will you be satisfied with that tonight?
Yeah, I have no problem putting it in the document. I apologize. I have no problem with it going in the document tonight. I just kind of feel like our names are gonna go on this, So I kind of feel like if I was buying a car, I wouldn't just say fill in the blanks. I would want to see it before I signed off on it. So I think that's what I'm saying is, you know, I know you need the time to fill in, you know, recraft it or insert the words where it goes or whatever, which is why even if we meet next week for a half an hour just to say, okay, looks good to go, and we sign off. But I don't want to necessarily rush into it tonight if we're saying we're going to insert things.
I appreciate that, Mrs. Lynn, that's where I thought where you were going with it. But I do want to be clear for Mr. Shea, who's the chair, is adding that something you as a group want to do, and then is that how you as a group want to handle it? It's not that I'm trying to say that Kathy's wrong or I don't want to do what Kathy's saying, but in fairness, it is a committee decision. So I'm going to turn it back over to the chair and let you finish the meeting.
Well, I'm pushing to complete our work as soon as possible. Your recommendations are very detailed. I'm not diminishing them in any way, but that means we have to come back again. And what keeps us then from coming back again? That's why I asked the question, would you be satisfied with what they put into the document that we could approve tonight?
No, don't trust them.
No.
We're not there yet. She has one.
Okay, all right. Glad I checked.
Do you maybe have an idea of what you would like to add, and then we can discuss it, and then, you know, decide together?
I apologize. Thank you. Okay. I don't want to hold this up. So I want to see the stuff in writing, but I also know because this meeting isn't recorded, there's not the opportunity to go back like you can on a board meeting and look at them, you know, do Monday morning quarterbacking, go back and go, okay, what was she talking about? Or, you know, is this possible? And, oh yeah, it's a quick fix or whatever. So, I just want an opportunity to look at it one more time. And I feel like if you can have it done like Friday and possibly email it, or we're not allowed to discuss stuff. That's the big thing is we can't discuss stuff and say, hey, you know, Kevin, what did you think? You had a really good point on this, or Jennifer, or Lisa, you know, last time through, what am I missing, or am I obsessing on something? That's my only reason for coming back. And I know that
that's not a district requirement, that's a.
Correct, and I know this is and if I get voted down, that's totally fine, because then I feel that's part of the process is, you know, if I get voted down, then I know I'm one of 9 tonight, I'm one of 7, so my opinion doesn't rule just because I have the microphone. So that's kind of where I'm at, but let me ask a couple more questions. Is that okay?
Yes? Are you asking questions? Or
I'm asking permission. I have more questions that I wanted to clarify. Okay, sorry. Some of this we covered already. Okay, so one of the things that keeps coming back, and we had it in one of our original drafts of the recommendation, was something that said, it's on page 5, under the advisory committee received and reviewed relevant background information, and it has about the committee's role, the step-by-step process, the historic and projected district-wide enrollment, and maintenance costs on the property. One of the lines that was taken out, and it's something we've asked for a value on repeatedly, is the preliminary estimated property value, and it was listed as pending. And we asked for that to be left in there. There was another, still on page 5 on the bottom after, A, where it says property characteristics, there had been a B to that.
Can we go back to the property value?
Sure.
Because we talked about that, but it really depends on entitlement.
We talked about this at the last meeting, that the property value depends on the entitlements and what's gonna be planned for it, so they have to do a appraisal, right? Is that what you guys said? Do you remember that?
I do, but it used to be in here that was part of what's gonna be part of the process.
We stopped putting that in when they went over the maintenance costs on the property, if my memory is serving me right.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I do, and then, under B, where it's, it wasn't B, but on our previous one. On B, on our previous, at the bottom of page 5, there is no B on that page now. It was, taken out, I don't remember a discussion on this one. And it was property characteristics, and it says the district has not yet conducted an appraisal of the property. This will be completed in the future. And on 3.5, we had asked for that to stay with the document. So even if the district, it leaves it open, I think, for the district to do it, but it does address a question that community members and committee members have raised about what is the actual property when people throw around dollar amounts like it's $25,000 or $25 million to retrofit the school. What is the value of the property? What is the trade-off? I think that's something that people want to see addressed because the property obviously has value, and it would be nice for people to know that the district, at what point this is going to be made public so that people know.
Do you have the old plan like that? I'm not talking, just need
I think we had kind of discussed that we weren't really wanting them to sell the property. That's not even in a discussion, so the value to sell it or something was sort of off the table part of that. That's what I'm kind of thinking we had talked about. It was more about, you leasing it or that type of value versus like what would it be if it was sold. Right. Is that what you're thinking of?
Thank you for reminding me of that. I think part of it too was because the district had indicated that this possibly could be revenue generating, even though the public had said that's not their priority. But how do you know how much to lease the property for? How much do you know what you need to get? There was this number that's floating out there that has been unspecified for a long time. So and again, it's something community members have asked, and I feel like they feel like we're hiding something or the district's keeping something from them.
So, Ms. Lund, just so I'm clear, so what is your ask for what to add?
My ask was to put back in the section from 3.5. Just a sec. Yeah. From the draft copy that we've gotten on 3.5, we threw a bunch of stuff out. And it was on page 7 of that draft copy. And it said, after the description of the property and what it can be zoned for, there was B, property valuation. The district has not yet considered an appraisal of the property. This will be completed in the future. And
That's what you want.
Is that what you want to add
Yes.
back in?
So you're not asking for an appraisal, you're asking for.
I want that language back in.
So it's up to the committee, but I just wanted to be clear as to what the ask was.
Okay, can I make a motion then?
Can I make a motion to put that back in? Okay, I make a motion to add that back into the final draft.
Second.
I'd like to see the language again, just so I know exactly. Oh, you want to, yeah, you can read it, that'd be fine.
Yes.
There you are, just next to me, Kevin. Okay. The PI Public Institutional Zoning Designation allows the property to be used for civic and governmental offices. Wait, is this it?
No, it's the next one under, it's the next part, so where it says the property valuation.
Oh, the district has not yet conducted an appraisal of the property. This will be completed in the future.
Will it be completed? Is that part of the plan? I mean, will the board do it before they lease it or sell it? I mean,
Yes,
I don't know if we have.
evaluation, as the district gets closer to what it will be. Yeah.
Thank you. As the district gets closer to making a determination about a
How it
potential
would be used,
use.
Yeah.
who would be the,
What-
who would be the partner, all of those things,
Correct.
then we have to do that.
Okay,
Of
that's
course,
right.
evaluation analysis would be done, absolutely, but it has to be closer in time, so if you do it now, for example, it could become stale, right? That it would be evaluation based on what the potential use is based on the board's determination. Not-
Correct.
Correct, and that can be clarified in the document as well.
Okay, so, yeah, just putting that language back in, I think, lets people know that that's gonna be a step in the process that is gonna be addressed.
And I think, Mrs. Lennon, in point of what you were talking about the transparency with the public and people understanding, once, Mr. Shea, as the chair, presents this to the board, which I hope you guys will all be there, then the board has to take action from there, and all of that information will be part of public record in the board meeting announcements and all of those pieces. And so whatever steps are involved, because there will be negotiations, I can't even predict, depending on who's going to offer that partnership, we'll go forward with that.
Take care of that.
Yes, I think that addresses that particular line. Mr. Shea actually really is in charge. I apologize again. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm now on page 6, the advisory committee recommendations and findings. And Mr. Kim had brought up a really interesting point on item number 2, that it says that the aim is to maximize the property's value, and we were concerned about that term. It sounded like kind of at any cost, you're gonna make sure that your focus has been narrowed to maximizing it. And I went home, I checked my thesaurus, thank you Lisa for this one. I checked the thesaurus and I came up with the word optimize, which I feel like leaves it open to utilizing all resources and possibilities rather than just focusing on, especially because of the word value, it kind of indicates a dollar value, not the community value of having that space available for the community.
You would like to change that?
I'd like to change that word to optimize, if that works with everybody. Does that work with Mr. Kim?
I'm okay with that, yes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
I'm almost at the end, thank you. The other part is also in number 2, where it says, prioritizes uses that serve the best interests of the district, students, and the broader community. And I know at the last meeting, it was kind of questioned as to the order of this kind of, you've heard it here tonight, that people feel like an asset was taken away from them by closing the school, which I know you're aware of. And so there's some confusion when it says the best interest of the districts, which I understand that to be the financial interest of the district, that by leasing it or whatever, that's a financial benefit to the district. For the students, you explained to me last time, that means the students that are currently in other schools. And I don't know how that goes down with the people who live in and around the school who had to have their kids move. But I wonder if, instead of saying students, if it could go to student, programs for students to indicate, something that doesn't say we took stuff away from the kids that used to be at Santa Clarita and now we're gonna go put it at Bridgeport or whatever. I just feel like there needs to be, I think in the wording, I'd like to see that we're balancing the best interests of the district, the students, and the broader community as shown in the charts that are not the charts, but the results of the survey, that we're trying to balance what we've heard from the district and what we heard from the community. And I feel like the way this is written right now, it doesn't reflect that. And then I think that's the end of my comments. Yay. Say it, okay. Okay. The advisory committee recommends that the board pursue both short-term and long-term leasing up options with the aim to optimize the property's value while prioritizing uses that balance the best interests of the district, student programs, and the priorities voiced by the broader community as reflected in the survey.
Say that last part again, Mrs. Lund.
Where'd I leave off? Where'd I lose you? And in line with priorities voiced by the broader community as reflected in the October 30th survey.
Can we say exhibit C?
Sure, exhibit C.
Exhibit C is the graphs.
Correct.
And that's what you're referring to?
The graphs, yeah.
That's what she's referring to.
And, oh, okay. Okay, the graphs of the community input or something.
Exhibit C.
Exhibit C.
I personally think that this wording is fine. I think if you start adding all these clauses and stuff, it gets a little bit confusing.
No?
In my opinion, just for that one, I just think that when it says like, I think the best interest of I think that clause is for everybody, right? It's the best interest of the district, it's the best interest of students, and the best interest of the broader community. That's, why that clause is there. I mean, I think that's what it refers to.
We need the exactitude, that's all there is to it.
A little bit more for everybody else to read, so I don't think it's like a deal breaker to make that change.
Sure.
You're right too.
Yeah, I just think that, I personally just, as a, just the writing, I think it's just clunky, but that's just my opinion.
Too much open for
I'm not against
interpretation.
everything, but I just,
No, and I respect your opinion on that, because you might have noticed I am a wordy person. But again, I wanted, I just wanted to make sure that everybody that's been here tonight, who's been at other meetings, who came on October 30th and gave their input, and I want them to feel like this isn't, we had talked about this initially, the order, and I had questioned that of putting the district first, then students, because there's no students at Santa Clarita, and then the broader community. I had initially wanted it reversed, and you all said no, leave it this way. And so I'd like if we could just show that we're balancing and taking into account both, that it needs to do it for, it needs to benefit the district, but it also definitely needs to benefit the community that through their taxes paid for the school.
Do we have a motion to accept the changes that Kathy has presented?
I'll motion.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye.
I would oppose it,
Opposed by Kevin?
but I don't have a real problem.
It's not a deal.
No, it's not a deal, I'm not.
Okay, so we're gonna
I'm done, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Always looking out for all the details, I like it. All right. Just the last one, because we had an opposing opinion.
Right.
So the rest of the changes were accepted,
Oh, okay.
and it will be in the revised document. And at this point, it looks like we are going to have the next meeting next week.
Can we make a motion on that?
All right.
Yes, Kathy's not allowed to apologize.
The action item that we have listed there is item 11. We're not going to make that decision tonight. So do we have a motion to adjourn until next